Be sure to go to flipsidegaming.com and use promo code 6 for 10% off on orders over $10. It's a good deal and help us with the show. What is up, Planeswalkers? Theoric 6 back with more Ikoria and, I guess, technically Commander 2020 spoiler talk review, meme review. I'm going to start off with the cards that are being printed in Ikoria, and then at the end, well, not at the end, but we'll shift into the cards that were spoiled for Commander 2020. I'll get to it when I get to it. It's fine. Stormwild Capra is a 3-mana 1/3 bird goat. Fuck it, it's a bird goat. It has flying. If non-combat damage would be dealt to Storm blah blah, prevent that damage, put a +1/+1 counter on Stormwind Capra for each 1 damage prevented this way. This does not say non-combat damage from your opponent's source. What this means is, this is another part of the, gosh, what's that dang card's name? True Fire Captain deck, where you can play this on turn 3, and then if you have, like, you get even more mileage out of things like Deafening Clarion, which you play in that deck anyway. You now have an alternative way of having the whole not called a meteor, whatever, the big 7-mana destroy a land, deal 20 damage to everything. That makes it so that this becomes a 21/23, and you can just hit your opponent with it in the air, because I assume everything else is going to be dead. So this is another card that slots into that deck in Historic, and I am stoked. No, it's really cool. Am I going to see it anywhere else? Probably not. Oh! For what it's worth, this also works really nicely in Feather decks, because those decks end up using, for Historic Feather decks, because we don't have the card anymore. But for that one mana spell that deals 2 damage to a creature you control, and then 4 damage to a creature you don't control, rigging or something like that, that works really nicely with this, because it doesn't even deal the 2 damage, it just makes it bigger. I like it. I think it's a really cool card. I love like everything about this card. It's great. Next up we have Pouncing Shore Shark, and I decided to use the comic style art first because it's just so good. It's so cool. This is the normal art, and it's literally like it's a meme of the shark with hands. What's not to love? It's a 5-mana 4/3 flash shark beast that has mutate for 4. It's 3 and a blue. When this creature mutates, you may return target creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand. So it's similar, it has like a mana war effect, except it has flash, which is nice, and it's a 4/3, which is nice. Obviously, like, you could just have it be a 5-mana flash 4/3, which I think is reasonable in a limited context, but the fact that you can mutate this and actually bounce your opponent's stuff is just gravy. I will say, I am treating these comic book styles the same as the Throne of Eldraine storybook styles. We better get these motherfuckers on Arena. I don't really care at all about getting the Godzilla styles on Arena, or the Toho Monster styles. I know we're getting at least the Godzilla style, because that's the buy box promo. And you see that when you are looking at one of the bundles, the Vivian bundle, I think it is. But we better be getting these, because this thing is fresh. And I like it. Blarg Beast. This is the comic book style, which is pretty haunting in my opinion. Blarg Beast is a 2 black-green 4/4 Nightmare Beast, has mutate to Golgari. Whenever this creature mutates, return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. So this is another one of these 4-drop Golgari creatures that, you know, do X, typically it's been enter the battlefield, return a permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. And I've got to say, I really like all of them. This one is different because the body that's on this creature is better than both of the other bodies we have. You know, we have double black, double green for a 3/4, and then we have, well, I think the other one was 2 gold. Was it 2? I think it was 2 black green. I think the Priest of Affliction or whatever she's called. I think it's just 2 black green, but she was weaker than that. I don't remember if she was a 3/3 or a 2/2. She might have been a 2/3, and I could look it up right now, but I don't care. Regardless, this body is better. It also has an easy casting cost, just like the Affliction Girl. But you have to mutate in order for you to get this actual effect. And what's nice here is that the mutate ability is the same cost, right? You're not losing out. If anything, it's easier to cast because it's hybrid mana. But you do have to mutate, which means you have to have something on the field already. Or what's I think even nicer is that you can play this just as a 4/4 if you need it. And then later on, if you have another mutation that you want to play, maybe it's just another Blood Beast. You mutate on it, you get 2 triggers. It's nice. I like this card. I liked those cards. I think it's pretty cool. The art on this is just fantastic. Footfall Crater is this is a good card. All right, do not get me wrong. This is a decent card. 1 mana for an aura, enchantment, enchant land. Cycling 1. Enchanted land has tap, target creature gains trample and haste until end of turn. Being able to give anything you have haste is strong. In EDH, I think it's Flamekin Village? Flamekin Village. Flamekin Village is great, and you'll often see it in red-based EDH decks because you're able to have whatever you want gain haste. Obviously, right, this is its own land. You don't have to devote a card to it. But I do think in certain Brawl decks, I think this is going to be a card that is good for you. One, it can cycle. Like, if you just really need to not have this at this moment, you can cycle it, and it cycles for cheap. But if you have a commander that has attack triggers, right? If you have an Atali commander for your Brawl deck, if you are running Drakuseth, right? Any of those things really like having something like Footfall Crater where you can immediately get the benefit of giving your creature haste. And I think that is going to make this pretty dang strong in Brawl. Spring Cleaner. I think this is Migratory... Grand Carino. I don't know, Migratory Beast or something, who knows. It's a 4-mana 3/4. Okay, that's fine. Mutate for 3. Whenever this creature mutates, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. So this is... I will say, I know some people don't like the echoes of other Magic cards. I really like echoes of Magic cards, and what I mean by that essentially is a reimagining of a card in Magic that utilizes new mechanics, especially if they're set mechanics. So this is very similar to, it's especially funny because cycling's in the set, but it's very similar to Krozen Tusker, which was reimagined with Sheffet Monitor from Amiket. But this one, instead of you cycling it, it's when you mutate it, you get the basic land. And I think this actually just has a decent body for its cost, and I don't think Krozen Tusker does? I mean, I could look it up, but I don't care. No, Krozen Tusker is a 6/5. What am I talking about? But yeah, I like this. I think it's interesting. Is it going to see play? I mean, in limited, it's fine. You know, 4-mana 3/4 in limited is basically Pillar Field Ox test, but the green card should be destroying the Pillar Field Ox test. But I like it. I think it's fine. What's Kraken? Skyfall always with the great names. First of all, horrifying art. That is Lovecraftian as a mofo. 2-mana enchantment. Whenever you draw a card, put a foreshadow counter on What's Kraken. Love foreshadow counters. Is there anything else that makes foreshadow? I'll check that in a second. Remove 8 foreshadow counters. Create an 8/8 blue Kraken creature token. Cycling 2. This obviously works super well with cycling, which is great because I really like that you can have potentially a meme cycling deck. You don't have to sacrifice this. So you don't have to, like, if you have extra What's Krakens in your hand, you can cycle those to put more on this without worrying about losing out on future What's Krakens. It's whenever you draw a card anyway. Like, it's not the second card you've drawn. It's just if you drew a card, you get to put a counter on it. Which means that, you know, you're going to, at the bare minimum, 8 turns after, which is not good, but you should be building a deck that it's not going to take an entire 8. You're going to have a Kraken in 8 turns. Considering a lot of the Krakens cost, you know, 7 to 9 mana anyway, you know, if you play this on turn 2, that's not too bad. And if you get a couple of extra draws out of it, that means you're getting a vanilla Kraken on time. But if you play, you know, 3, you're getting a vanilla Kraken pretty earlier than you usually would. So I do like this card. Is it going to see play in standard? Probably not in anything other than meme decks, which means you're going to see players like myself, content creators, play with it. But I don't think this is going to be something that you're going to be, you know, playing at I was going to say at a tournament, but those have been kind of free loot. At an online tournament, we'll say. But I think you can probably make a deck like this work in Arena or at an FNM once that happens again. Recycling Monitor. This is a 5-mana lizard. It's 4 and a red for a 4/4 cycling 2. When Recycling Monitor enters the battlefield, exile target card with cycling ability from your graveyard. Until the end of your next turn, you may play that card. 1. I like that this says you may play that card. That means they hopefully recognize that they put the cycling lands in Historic Anthology, and this card can make it so you can play them. That's awesome. I will say, obviously, you can't cycle those cards again, right? This says until end of your next turn, you may play that card. Another thing that I like about this card is I broke my mind for like a millisecond. Where was I? All right. It's because it's on ETB. Now, obviously, like, you're not going to see a ton of cast triggers, but I do appreciate this on ETB because I'm kind of holding out for Wizards to put a certain cycling themed card in Historic Anthology 3. I think it would be pretty cool, and that card cares about things entering the battlefield. So, Thieving Otter. There are more otters in Ikoria for some freaking reason. Oh, right, I was... Lol. O. Foreshadow. No, this is the only card with Foreshadow on it. Alright, that's fair. Okay, before I actually look this up, I want to see how many otters there have been. Oh, this is the first time otters have ever showed up. Interesting, okay. For 3 mana, sorry, 2 and a blue. For a 2/2 otter. Whenever... We have sables in this game, don't we? We have 1 sable. These are both in, like, the family Mucilae or something like that? Anyway, sorry, I'm getting sidetracked by science. Whenever Thieving Otter deals damage to an opponent, draw a card. This is an Ophidian. Sort of. Ophidian is different. Whatever. It's a thing. It draws you cards. This is great in limited. That's the word I was looking for. And this is the last for the standard cards. Bastion of Remembrance. This is a 3-mana black enchantment. When Bastion of Remembrance enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 and you gain 1. So this, as you can see from the Thesaurus, is very similar to Cruel Celebrant. It's essentially a 3-mana 1/1. Right, it's essentially a 3-mana 1/1 that sticks around after the 1/1 dies, right? Is it good enough to see play in a sacrifice deck? I don't know. Luckily, it says whenever a creature, not just whenever a human you control. But typically, you're going to want these types of things on 2 or 4, because you'll often see that the sack outlets are going to be on 2 or 3. So, it's whatevs. Let's see. They are in Mucilae with sables? I shouldn't be looking that up, but they're very closely related to sables, if I recall correctly. So it's just interesting to me that there's otters and shit. Regardless. This is now onto the Commander 20 new cards. I'm not going to go over the reprints, but what I do want to talk about for a brief second is my frustration that these new cards aren't going to be standard legal. For what it's worth, I'm actually fine with that. I'm okay with the fact that they're not standard legal. I'm upset that they're not Brawl legal. Let me just make sure of something. Get wrong. Not legal in standard. Not legal in Brawl. But it is, though. So the thing is, right, Wizards has decided at some point, apparently, to make it so Brawl isn't just standard cards. They can just choose cards to put in Brawl. I want these cards to be playable in Brawl because they go with the set's theme. They're so tied into the set's theme that it really bothers me. The Throne of Eldraine Brawl precons, all of the new cards were printed. Well, was Command Tower actually like printed in Throne of Eldraine? It was. Yeah, like these cards were all actually printed in the set. No, but I don't. But you couldn't open these in packs. So they did. The thing is, like, they did some nonsense to make it work, so that people can play Brawl and stuff. But they decided just to say, at the end of the day, I just want to be able to play these in Brawl because it goes with the set's theme. I want to be able to play a lot of these cool, interesting new cards because they work with the cards that I'm going to be able to play with. It bothers me. Whatever. Menacing Politics, 4 mana, creature, human warrior, 4/4. Whenever one or more creatures attack an opponent or a planeswalker an opponent controls, those creatures gain menace until end of turn. Essentially, when your opponents are fighting amongst each other, it's harder for them to block each other, which means it's easier for them to kill each other. It's also easier for you to kill them, but not easier for them to kill you. 4 mana, 4/4. Cool ability. I like this. This is a political red, and I really like political reds. There's cards like Dio-Chan. And things like that. I really like political reds, and if I weren't probably making a Itali deck for my red, it would be Dio-Chan. I actually have a list of all of my current EDH decks for all of the color combinations, as well as some potentials for ones I don't have. And for red, it says Dio-Chan Politics or Itali Good RNG. But regardless. Curious Herd is a 4 mana instant, it's green. Choose target opponent. You create X 3/3 green beast creature tokens, where X is the number of artifacts that player controls. We all know a situation where your opponent is playing mono red, mono blue, maybe some sort of artifact white. Maybe we're looking at some blue red artifacts. I don't know. I decided to start talking like this. Call it Eldrazi, right? Any of those types of things. They just have a ton of mana rocks. Just a ton. This can give you a lot of things. For what it's worth, I don't think it's very good. I'd rather just blow up my opponent's artifacts. Now, obviously, the fact that it's instant means that you can surprise kill someone, right? Like, someone's going off, they're playing a bunch of artifacts to set up their wombo combo clockwork machine, and you're like, all right, end of your turn, gonna make a Curious Herd. I'm gonna get, what, 7 to 10 3/3s? Bada bing, bada bang, bada boom, attack, you have died. So I can see where it's coming from. This one looks like a doofus. I'm sorry, I had to make fun of it. Obscuring Haze. I'm trying to reconcile that this is a legendary creature. Whether hunter or hunted, Catheril chooses when it's seen. Obscuring Haze is a 3 mana instant. If you control a commander, I just realized this said A. If you control a commander, I read that as your. That's not bad. If you control a commander, you may cast the spell without paying its mana cost. Prevent all damage that would be dealt this turn by creatures your opponents control. So this means you can have someone else's commander and still make it so your opponent's creatures don't deal damage. I love that. I'm an advocate of fogs in general. In Commander, I really like to include at least one fog in my decks. And fogs can mean different things, but generally speaking, it's like a I don't want to die button, right? Angel's Grace, Teferi's Protection, Darkness. I love playing Darkness in my Gisa deck because people do not expect black to have the fog. So you're just like, oh, you're gonna attack me? Darkness. Just like, nope. So I really like Obscuring Haze. Now, obviously, there are situations where it's going to be better to play something to hell else. I know Spider Spawning is a relatively, people like it. Moments Piece is something you can flash back, so you can not only use it twice, but it means if you're playing a deck that, likes putting their cards in the graveyard for whatever reason, that's pretty good. You have Spore Frog if you're playing Muldrotha, so this is almost never going to be better than just playing Spore Frog. So there's a lot of different reasons for playing things, but I really do like this card. Nesting Grounds. creepy. This is a land. It taps to add a colorless or 1 in a tap to move a counter from target permanent you control onto another target permanent. Activate this ability only anytime you can cast a sorcery. Now there's a card from the other day, and it was in Ikoria, so bear with me for a moment as I scroll down. Where are you? There we go. So this card, when it enters the battlefield, can gain Death Touch, Lifelink, or Menace. Menace doesn't matter here, but Death Touch and Lifelink, these are things that care about damage that's being dealt. And we know from Pestilence... No. Well, no, yeah, I think it is just the, like, Pestilence Skeleton. Yeah. And we know from Pestilence Spirit that instant sorcery spells can have Death Touch. Essentially, things that aren't creatures can have Death Touch. So I'm going to go back here real quick. I can move a counter from the creature that has a Death Touch or Lifelink counter onto Pestilence. Then, when I deal 1 damage to each creature and each player, let's say, for example, I go ahead and I make it Death Touch Lifelink. I play Pestilence. On one of these turns, I put the Lifelink on it. On the next turn, I put a Death Touch on it. Not only am I killing everything, I'm also gaining a decent amount of life. Now, the issue is that at the end of the turn, if there are no creatures in play, sacrifice Pestilence. But that can be mitigated by having a single indestructible creature, a single creature that has protection from black, or for whatever reason can't be damaged by black things. It's spicy and a meme, but I love it. I don't care. I love it. It's cool. I think that's really awesome. Being able to move around counters, generally speaking, is pretty interesting. You can essentially just like put counters onto nesting grounds, right? You can essentially say, you know, I have a creature that came back with persist. I'm going to remove that counter from it so that it can come back again, right? Things like that are super interesting, and I really like this card. And I think it's correct to force it to pay a mana, because just tapping, I think, is probably too strong. This thing is fucking weird. Tegam, Luminous Enigma. What's up, Enigma? Shout out. 4 mana for a 3/3 Nightmare Beast. 1 white, black, green. Each other creature you control enters the battlefield with an additional vigilance counter on it. I don't know why this has to say other. I hate you so much. Why can't I have this vigilance on my 4 mana 3/3? 3 mana, remove 3 counters from among creatures you control. Put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard, then return a permanent with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Notably, this doesn't tap, so you can technically do this as many times as you have counters from things to get rid of. Notably, also, this is any type of counter, so, you know, this works really nice with +1/+1 counters. You get things back. I was initially super down on this card because I thought it was just creatures that could get back, and I was like, what? Like, this is a 4 mana 3/3 that does essentially nothing, really, when it enters, and, like, it costs a lot to get a small creature back, even. But after thinking about it more, this is a combo engine waiting to happen, and I'm not Johnny enough to figure it out. But it's Abzan, it's reanimation, it's cool. I don't think this is going to be my Abzan commander. What do I have for Abzan, actually? So for Abzan, I have nothing. I have no ideas for Abzan. I still have Tiny Leaders. I have a Tiny Leaders deck, and I'm going to keep it around. It's Anafenza. I like Tiny Leaders. Sue me. But yeah, for right now, I don't have any Abzan commander that I like. I might look into this. The issue is it's a little... It's similar to Muldrotha, but also similar to my green-black deck that cares about +1/+1 counters, so I'm not sure. Netherborn Altar is a 2 mana black artifact. Tap it, put a soul counter on Netherborn Altar. Put your commander into your hand from the command zone. Then you lose 1 life for each soul counter on Netherborn Altar. 3 life is a different tax, right? You are essentially paying life instead of command tax. Now, obviously, we can remove things with nesting grounds. There are other cards that care about removing counters, so this is potentially pretty decent. But what's great about this is Phage. You can now have a pretty easy way to put Phage into your hand. And that's pretty damn cool. Bada bing. You don't have to jump through as many hoops. You don't have to have Command Beacon and then find a way of looping it. You can just have a Netherborn Altar. And that's awesome. A friend of mine who has not yet gotten back to me, because I want to play some games with him and my other best friend, whatever. He's a Phage deck. I'm sure he's going to be stoked about this card. It's awesome. Boneyard Microdirect is a 3-mana fungus, star. It enters the battlefield, it has power and toughness equal to the number of other creature cards in your graveyard. The reason it says other is because it also has scavenge for 5. Exile this card from your graveyard, put a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to this card's power on target creature. Scavenge only is a sorcery. It's interesting. I don't think it's good. I could be super wrong. It doesn't seem very good. Because typically, when I have cards that care about the number of creatures in my graveyard, and I'm going to be putting a bunch of things in my graveyard, just having a one-time power boost doesn't feel great. Like, I would rather recur this than scavenge it. Maybe it's because I'm looking at it too much from, like, you need the scavenge to work out. Maybe this is fine. Maybe I'm just dumb. Mind Leecher. Y'all seeing this horrifying demon that I'm seeing? Is a 6-mana nightmare creature. It's a 5/5 flyer with mutate 4 into black. Whenever this creature mutates, exile the top card of each opponent's library face down. You may look at and play those cards for as long as they remain exiled. This is going straight into Rexial. 1, it's Lovecraftian, which is great, and 2, it exiles things, and there's an exile sub-theme in that deck. It's cool. Obviously, you can't pay mana as if there are any mana, which is fine. You know, you're going to be limited in the cards that you can actually use, but this says play. It doesn't say cast, so you can, if you hit lands, you get to play those lands, and potentially, like, let's say I'm playing a mono black deck against a Sultai deck and a Teamer deck and a mono white deck, let's say. The mono white deck doesn't really matter what they get unless it's artifact. I'm not gonna be able to play it. But let's say the Sultai player has I exile the Opal Palace. I think it's Opal Palace. It's Opulent Palace. I exile Opulent Palace. I play that. I now have access to green and blue, right? So if I exiled an Uro. Well, let's not say Uro. Let's say Growth Spiral, because I just don't care. From the Teamer player, I can now play that card. So it's cool. I don't know. I like it. It's a nightmare. It gives me nightmares. Sanctuary Blade. This is also being called Sword of OK and Dis. It's a 2-mana artifact equipment. As Sanctuary Blade becomes attached to a creature, choose a color. Equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has protection from the last color chosen. Equip 3. I think that they failed on this card. I like that the cost is flipped, but I think... I think it's just weird that they decided not to still give the +2 toughness boost. Yeah. For what it's worth, unfortunately, I don't think it's very good. It's nice that you can keep changing what it's protecting from, but it does cost more to equip than the other swords. But it's just not there. If it gave the 2 toughness boost, I think it would be Magnifique. If it was 3 mana to play and then 2 mana to equip, with just what it does now, I think it'd be Magnifique. But as it is, I think unfortunately it's just knobbed out a little bit too much, in my opinion. Molten Echoes, 4-mana enchantment. As this enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Whenever a non-token creature of the chosen type enters the battlefield under your control, create a token that's a copy of that creature. That token copy gains haste, exiled at the beginning of the next end step. I love this card. So many cards that like give you token copies of creatures when they enter cost like 5 to 7. This costs 4. This is going into Creature Riku so fast, but also it's just a dope meme. You just be like, all right, I'm gonna choose goblins. Cool. You get multiple goblins. I'm horrified. Choose dragons. Oh fudge. Choose dragons. And you get scared. Or you can play elementals. Choose elementals. You get more elementals. This card. See, this card just seems fun. Like, I want to play with this in Brawl. I want it. Give it to me. Flawless Maneuver. Right? I have a PVC pipe, and I'm not afraid to use it. 3 mana for an instant. If you control a commander, you may cast the spell without paying its mana cost. Creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. This effect is fine. We've seen similar cards like this. Battle Formation, or whatever the hell it is, from Ravnica, the Azorius dudes in Phalanx Formation that has... that play it during your main phase. I don't... Addendum? Addendum. And it's like, okay. It's like, okay. Typically, heroic. Typically speaking, right, you're gonna want to pay like 2 mana for this effect. Heroic Intervention is, you know, different, whatever. This gives permanents you control hexproof and indestructible. Like, this is just better, right? This can be free. Do not get me wrong, this can be free. But it doesn't give hexproof, and it only hits your creatures. Another issue here is that it directly competes with Teferi's Protection, which does so many more things. And I think, like, obviously the fact that giving your creatures indestructible is different than phasing them out. I recognize that. If you give them indestructible, you can still make, like, good trades and shit. I understand that. But Teferi's Protection is more versatile, and I tend to, when I'm making my decks, favor versatility over whatever. I favor versatility. Higher versatility is better. This is versatile. Do not get me wrong. You can play this for 3. You can play this for free. But when I look at it, I can't help but think Heroic Intervention is better. If I'm playing green and white, I'm playing Heroic Intervention every time, and this probably not. And if I'm playing white, I'm probably playing Teferi's Protection, and not this. Because I don't think... Well, I guess maybe if you're playing like an aggressive white deck. Sure. Shiny Impetus is a 3-mana enchantment aura enchant creature. Enchanted Creature gets +2/+2 and is goaded. It attacks each combat if able, and attacks a player other than you if able. Whenever Enchanted Creature attacks, you create a treasure token. Sorry, I should have put the emphasis there. Whenever Enchanted Creature attacks, create a treasure token. The person who casts this enchantment is making a treasure token. Okay? The aura is still yours, and the aura is what has this text. If it said, Enchanted Creature has, whenever this creature attacks, you create a treasure token, then the controller of the creature would be the one making the treasure. But essentially, the point of this is very similar to the vows. Now, some of you may not know vows, because those were vow of... Okay, I can't remember any of the damn vows either. Oh, there's only these. These were like OG commander cards, I think. Were these OG? Yeah, these were OG commander cards. I kind of am sad that we haven't seen them anymore. But these are essentially goads, right? Like, these are very similar. But they give the creature +2/+2 and some extra ability, and they can't attack you or a planeswalker you control, right? Give them flying, give them first strike, give them vigilance, intimidate, trample, right? These are very similar to this. Gives them +2/+2, and it's goated. It also gives you this extra bonus, so it's very similar to those. And if you probably can't tell, you don't see a ton of the vows. I like the vows, I really do. This is probably better than all of the vows, because making a treasure token is pretty decent. Yeah, it's pretty decent. Kelsian, the Plague. It's high noon. Or Ryuga Wagateki Rokorao. There we go. Sorry, this is a Mardu, red, white, black, 2/2, human assassin. Has vigilance and haste. Kelsian the Plague gets +1/+1 for each experience counter you have. Not bad. Kelsian deals, tap. Kelsian deals 1 damage to a creature you don't control. Whenever that creature dies this turn, you get an experience counter. You can't kill your creatures, but here, it makes sense. 1, it's an assassin. Assassins aren't hired to kill their... You're not going to hire an assassin to kill a creature of yours that you whatever. I can't explain the flavor. This makes sense that it can't hit your own things. Okay, wizards, this one, fine. Others, no. I want to hit my own things sometimes. What's cool, right, is that it does only deal 1 damage, but there are so many ways of giving Calcian Death Touch, especially now that we have the Death Touch counters. I mean, the main one, you know, you're thinking Gorgon Flail, you're thinking Basilisk Collar, right? Those are the big ones. And this creature, because it has vigilance as well, it can, you know, be attacking and sniping dudes, right? If you have something... I'm pretty sure there's... Oh, no, it's a creature. It's a creature that does this. I'm dumb. I don't know if there's an enchantment version of, like, if something dies, untap it, but still, I think this is pretty cool if you have untappers, if you have death touch things. In general, I think this is really awesome as a Mardu commander. Do I have Mardu on here? Oh, right, I do. I have Kalia. Angels, Demons, Dragons, oh my. Kalia is sticking around, even though I, like, never play her because she is hated on. Calcian is pretty cool. I don't like his mask, but... Yeah. Timeout? What do you mean timeout? Ignore this. I don't know what that was about. We're just going to talk about this card right now. Ignore everything else. I don't know what's going on with Skyfall. We're going to talk about this. All right, ignore the rest. Look, I recognize that my name is hard to say. Zaxura? Zaxura, the exemplary? Fuck you. 4 mana, Sultai 2/3, Nightmare Hydra. It's a 1 black, green, blue. Death Touch. Tap to add 2 mana of any one color. Whenever you cast a spell with X in its mana cost, create a 0/0 green Hydra creature token, and then put X +1/+1 counters on it. This is a different type of Hydra commander, where it just cares about, you know, X in general. It adds mana. That's awesome. It has Death Touch, which is interesting. It looks sick, literally speaking. I do wonder... I don't know if there's a way to do it, so I'm not going to waste your time and search. I might do it at the end, actually. But I wonder how many X spells are in Sultai. I'm guessing a decent amount. I mean, if nothing else, you have a lot of the green Hydras here. I am curious just to see, though, and this one is a little bit more pertinent, if you can just make this into a Hydra commander, like what percentage of these are based on color, please. So we have not very many red, but this is just mono red, so I kind of expect that. Not very many red. We've got obviously mostly green, right? Mostly green, solidly green. Then we have a decent amount of green-red. By decent amount, of course, I mean 3. And none of these are, like, necessarily, like, key. This one's like a meh. We only have the 1 black-red. Then we have Gyrus. But yeah, it seems like honestly, this is probably fine. And then you get to play things like Villainous Wealth. So yeah, I think our little Hydra man here has some nice potential. Eater of Clouds. This is a 6 mana elemental whale. I love this art so much. It reminds me so much of Whelmer, and I am a Hoenn fan. Now, I did start playing Pokemon with Red, I want to say. I never got past, like, anywhere in Johto. I was one of those kids who just played with Cyndaquil. I was also one of those kids who, like, didn't actually have a team. I was just like, oh, I'll catch this Pokemon because I can, but I'm playing with Cyndaquil. Cyndaquil is, like, my Pokemon. And you all know where I'm going. Whitney was a roadblock. I decided at one point, I put the game down. I never actually saw the end of the Johto games until I started watching people like Madry Bread and stuff on YouTube. I didn't play it. And I didn't play during the remakes either. So I was a Hoenn kid. I actually had like 3 different copies of Hoenn because, like, One got lost, one got stolen. Blah. Oh, I didn't even talk about the fucking card. 6 mana. Delve for a flying 3/3 creature. Whenever Eater of Clouds attacks, you may put an instant or sorcery exiled by Eater of Clouds into your hand. That is so cool. I love the interaction between Delve and this extra ability. What's nice is that, you know, this is just a 6 mana 3/3 whale. So you're not getting like a super powerful creature. You always have to pay at least blue for this. But being able to get some of those instant sorceries back is nutso. And because it goes back to your hand, you're casting them again, you can put them back into your graveyard to delve more. I am not lying when I think that this might see play in Eternal formats such as Legacy. We already see Gurmag Angler. We already see Gurmag Angler, right? It costs less. Gurmag Angler costs more, sorry. And this, you know, has Delve, and then it's just a 5/5. The thing is, paying 1 mana for a 5/5 is pretty damn strong. I'm curious to see if paying 2 mana, delving fewer cards, admittedly, for a 3/3 that flies is better, right? It takes 2 attacks of this to equal essentially 1 of Gurmag Angler, but Angler can be chump locked. And Angler, the thing is, Angler doesn't get back the instances you exile, right? So I would not be surprised in the slightest if this card sees play in Eternal format. Brallin, Skyshark Rider. Real talk, I initially thought this was a girl. Because I thought this was like an orange shirt, and his pecs were boobs. But I zoomed in, and there's a nip. So this person's shirtless, and I assume Wizards is not yet comfortable. Wizards, maybe. Hasbro is not yet comfortable having topless women on their cards. I'm not going to get into what I think should or should not occur, regardless. Brellin is a 4 mana legendary creature human shaman, partner with Shabraz, the Skyshark. We're going to get to that in a second. Whenever you discard a card, it's a 3/3. Whenever you discard a card, put a 1/1 counter on Brellin, Skyshark Rider, and it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Pay a red, target shark gains trample until end of turn. That's hilarious. The art is so good. The art is so good. Shabraz, the Skyshark, is a 3 white-blue 5 mana for a 3/3 flying shark bird. Is a fucking blue-white shark bird. Partner with Brellin. Flying. Whenever you draw a card, put a 1/1 counter on Shabraz, and you gain 1 life. Azorius. Target human gains flying until end of turn. The shark bird is the card that cares about drawing, gains life, and gifts flying. The human is the one that cares about discarding cards, dealing damage, and gaining trample, in like giving trample. I love that the shark in this relationship is the calm one. It's fantastic. It's a great white shark. It's perfect. I love it so much. This works so well with these colors because other than like black potentially, these colors are like the colors of looting, right? This is just a deck where you loot, and I love it. I don't have a Jeskai deck. I don't. Although I'm probably going to make a cycling deck with one of the next cards that we're going to be talking about. Oh, I talked about Gavi in one of the other ones. I really like Gavi. I might make a deck with Gavi. Ravenous Gigantotherium. 7 mana for a... Sorry about that. For a 3/3 beast. Why is it going to be a 3/3? Devour 3. Okay. Devour's coming back. That's cool. When it enters the battlefield, it deals X damage divided as you choose among up to X target creatures, where X is its power. Each of those creatures deals damage equal to its power to Ravenous Ethereum. It was great up until that last part. Obviously, like you can deal 7 mana, deal 3 damage divided amongst any target creatures, or up to 3 target creatures, and then those creatures hit it back. Sure. Devour 3, which means you eat one thing, it becomes a 6/6, so you can divide 6 power amongst 6 creatures. Sure. 2 things, it's 9 power amongst 9 creatures. I'd like my beasts a little bit bigger in base, but man, it's interesting. I just don't think it's going to see play like anywhere. I guess maybe you put in a Thermok deck just for more cool Devour cards. Decoy Gambit is a 3 mana instant spell. For each opponent, choose up to 1 target creature that player controls. Then return that creature to its owner's hand unless its controller has you draw a card. So this is instant where you essentially say, your best creatures, put them back in your hand unless you give me a card. So this essentially says, I'm often going to give you a card. I'm kidding. I'm often going to just put my card back in my hand. Thank you. I don't play blue enough. I don't know if this is good. Nascent Metamorph is a 2 mana 1/1 shapeshifter. Fucking adorable. Look at this thing, and then look me in my 2 human eyes and tell me that that thing is not adorable. It's a 1/1. Whenever Nascent Metamorph attacks or blocks, target opponent reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a creature card. Nascent Metamorph becomes a copy of that card until end of turn. Then that player puts all cards revealed this way on the bottom of the library in a random order. You can't choose your own things, which I think is super fair because you get to decide the deck building restrictions, right? You can put just the most bunker of cards here. But still, if you're playing EDH, the fact that this doesn't have to be defending player or attacking player means that you can just choose the person at the table with the best creatures. So, for example, if I'm playing Mael, someone over here is playing, let's say like a Shapeshifter Tribal, like blue Shapeshifter Tribal. Sure. Someone else is playing some sort of red artifact deck. And the last person is playing enchantments, right? I'm probably the one with the biggest, best creatures. I think it's fair to say, especially on average. So even if my opponent attacks my artifact opponent, my Shapeshifter opponent attacks my artifact opponent, they can say, Justin, go ahead and reveal things. Bop, bop, bop. Oh, look, it's a Godsire. Have fun taking 8. So I think it's really cool. I like this card. It's also cute. I would love to have this as a pet. I need this as a pet in Arena. Kazir, Ruthless Stalker. That is a throat catcher. Interesting. 4 mana for a 3/3 human warrior. Partner with Ukima, Stalking Shadow. Ukima? Whatever. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put a 1/1 counter on that creature. Good for 1/1 counters. Good for 1/1 counters, for sure, for sure. But what's its partner? Its partner is Ukima, Stalking Shadow. This is a 3 mana 2/2 Whale Wolf. I didn't think I would ever see perfection in my entire life. But here it is. This is perfection. I want one of these in real life. 3 mana 2/2. Ukima cannot be blocked. When it leaves the battlefield, it deals X damage to target player, and you gain X life, where X is its power. It's not just when it dies, it's when it leaves the battlefield. That's awesome. Very minimum, it's gonna deal 2. But I don't care about any of that. Besides the fact that this thing is a Whale Wolf. Now, obviously, I should mention, this costs 3, which means you play it on turn 3. You play this on turn 4. You attack with your 2/2. Your 2/2 becomes a 3/3. Cool. I mean, you play this deck with a bunch of, like, you play this deck with, like, +1/+1 counter matters, and then, like, unblockable creatures. Sorry, I don't know why it took so long for me to realize that. Unfortunately, I have a Sultai deck already, and it's Muldrotha, and she's not going anywhere. But, man, I'm not gonna lie, I'm tempted. Eon Frolicer is a 4 mana 5/5 Elemental Otter. 4 mana, 5/5. It also flies. When Aeon Frolicer enters the battlefield, if you cast it, just if you cast it, target opponent takes an extra turn after this one. Until your next turn, you and planeswalkers you control gain protection from that player. You give your opponent an extra turn, but you have protection from that turn. But that doesn't necessarily matter because they can just, they can just set up on your ass. And the fact of the matter is, they can still board wipe you. Your stuff is not protected from board wipes. And as I said, they can just set up. You know, they don't have to kill you with their combo on that turn. They wait until your upkeep, do it instant speed, they kill you. Now, this is when it ETBs, so you can stop it by having something like Torpor Orb or Hushbringer. You could also stifle it. You know, it's a triggered ability. And then, of course, it's if you cast it. So if you put it in the battlefield some other way, also means that you don't have to worry as much. But still, I think this card is odd. I wouldn't play it. Binding Ornament is a 3-mana artifact. Tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Sure. 4 and tap. Each player who controls a permanent named Binding Ornament draws a card. Collusion. I don't know. It's interesting because it is helpful for you for a little bit. It costs 4 though, so like you don't play this in blue. I doubt you play this in black. You maybe play it in mono white, but it's not a good rock for mono white because like you don't need to pay 3 for that. Like I guess Boros? Boros is where you would play this? Is there any other combination that wants this? Maybe just mono red, because mono red likes having artifacts that just do stuff, but I feel like mono red has better artifacts that do stuff like this. Cool art though. That's the end of the thing. I feel like I was going to come back to something. Oh, technically I was going to come back to see the X cost spells, but I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can have, like, has X in its cost. No, I don't think so. No. Stats, CMC, no. Oh, can I put X here? Oh shit, I can. Cool, X. And then it is blue, black, green. 180. Decent amount. Not gonna lie. Not all of these are good, obviously, but I'm just scrolling through, just kind of glancing at them. Yeah, I wonder how many of these are like actually playable in that. And then of course a decent number of these are gonna be Hydras themselves. But I mean you have things like Gaze. Hour of Eternity is funny, but I don't know if you play it. That's actually not terrible. Because it's just with flying, so you don't hit your own stuff. Logic Knot, Mass Manipulation, Mind Grind's funny. Spring, that's actually not bad, to be honest. Yeah, no, so yeah. It's interesting, you have stuff. You have stuff you can do for sure. Regardless, that's the end of this day's video. Jeez, it's Saturday. Sunday, I assume we're gonna get more. so many cards. I can't wait. When does this even hit shelves? I have no idea. But yeah, I'd like to thank my lovely patrons, especially Zen, for continued support. If you'd like to join them supporting the show, you'll find links to that down in the description below. If you've enjoyed this video, go ahead and press that like button, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Until next time, all will be one.